reaction. Since the point came, I will tell you. See, not only this, but I will tell you overall, generally, whenever it comes to boiling points, we are checking from liquid. We have to convert a liquid state of matter to the gaseous states of matter. Anyway, in both the cases, there will be loose packing of the molecules. There is no orderly arrangement. So the only way we can check is how the molecules are interacting. We cannot check the arrangement of the molecules in boiling point because both of them are fluids. Liquids and gases are fluids. They won't have the proper arrangement. So in that way, we can check for the available, the net surface area available, first thing. And the second thing, if there is any hydrogen bonding between the molecules. So when it comes to liquids and gases, these are the mostly we will be concentrating on the liquid because from liquid to gaseous state conversion, the temperature is boiling point, right? So either you can check the surface area, the net surface area of the molecule, or if there is any hydrogen bonding or something like that. And when it comes to the melting point, we are talking about converting a solid state of matter to the liquid state. So when it comes to the solid state, there will be proper arrangement of the molecule, resulting in a proper crystal lattice. I mean, all the molecules will be properly arranged in solid. And we are disrupting this arrangement to converting into liquid. So when it comes to the melting point, the only thing you have to cross check is how they are arranged, whether there is a good arrangement in crystal lattice or not. So arrangement of the molecules you have to check in melting point because we are converting a properly arranged crystal into an fluid. So there the rearrangement have to be broken down. The interactions have to be broken. Obviously, you can check between molecule to molecule. Here also, if there is any hydrogen bonding, like we cannot check in solid, but you can give it a try between molecule to molecule. Are there any dipole-dipole interactions? Something like that. The intramolecular interactions we can cross check in their solid state. Okay, so the reason why we are not including the crystal lattice arrangement in boiling point is that both the liquid and gases, both of them are fluids. They don't have proper arrangement of the individual molecules. So we cannot bring this crystal lattice for boiling point comparison. That's the difference. The states of matter is the difference. Okay, all right. Hmm. Yes, as I was saying, chemical properties very, very, very important when it comes to alkenes. They ask rarely questions from these alkenes chapter, but if they do, definitely they won't miss these chemical properties. Obviously, there are a lot to learn, but very easy actually. In Singage and all, they gave a big mechanism and all, but I'm not following that. I want to do it in a simpler way. So I'm referring Singh and Jagadamba. So I'll be giving you material, so you don't need to worry. Just stick to the notes and prepare that. That will be sufficient. Okay. So as we were discussing these chemical properties, and for alkanes, it was a saturated compound. So either we have to break the bond and make a new bond, or we have to substitute already existing atom with another atom. So mostly we have seen, ma'am, in boiling points, alkenes greater than alkanes because alkenes are polar. Okay, 1 second, ma. I'm going back. So when it comes to alkenes, you have carbon-carbon double bond, and alkenes you have carbon-carbon single bond. So this pi bond is weak bond. So because of this weak pi bond, when two alkenes come together, there will be polarization of the pi electron cloud. So resulting in net polarity in alkenes. That's the reason why they have a greater boiling point than their corresponding alkanes, because pi bond is weaker bond, right? And that too, the electron cloud is not localized. Like it will be in, like it's a delocalized electron cloud. So when two alkenes come together, there will be repulsions leading to the polarization of the pi electron cloud, leading to the final polarity. That's why, because of this net polarity, you have higher boiling points for alkenes than alkanes. Clear? Still any more doubts in physical properties? What about melting point between alkenes and alkanes? Same thing in alkenes, we have trans, right? So in alkenes, we have trans. So when it comes to them, the trans will have a better boiling melting point than this corresponding alkene. Just like in symmetry and all will takes place. Because of that symmetry, proper packing will be there. If there is a better packing, more energy will be required to break that orderly arrangement. Okay. Uh, yes. Okay. That is physical properties. And coming to the chemical properties, obviously we have a proper carbon carbon double bond, a weak pi bond, and a strong sigma bond. Now whatever this pi bond we have, this is responsible for all the chemical properties. So here most of the cases, because of this unsaturation, we will be performing addition reactions. Okay, we will be performing additions reaction. We will break this pi bond and we will satisfy the fourth valency of the carbon by adding a new reagent. The new reagent can be an electrophile, a nucleophile, or carbon free radical, whatever it might be. The basis for the chemical properties of these alkenes is the breaking of this pi bond and resulting in addition of new reagent. The reagent can be electrophile, nucleophile, depending upon the type of reaction that we are looking into. So the thing is, why we are able to break this carbon carbon pi bond that easily. So if you remember the bond energies, bond dissociation energies, for carbon carbon double bond to break both the sigma bond and pi bond, the energy was around 146 kilocalories per mole. Okay, just this stuff is extra. 146 kilocalorie per mole. Now when we have a carbon carbon single bond, the energy to break carbon carbon single bond is around 83 kilocalorie per mole. So if we just try to simulate it, for one carbon carbon sigma bond, if it is 86, for two carbon carbon, like two bonds to break, it's supposed to be 166 kilocalories per mole. But as you can see, less amount of energy is required to break one carbon carbon double bond, which means whatever the pi bond you have, it is a weaker bond. It can be easily attacked, and that is the main reason why these uh, alkenes are more reactive. So alkenes are more reactive than alkanes due to weak pi bond between them. So whatever the chemical properties we are observing, it will be subjected to the breakage of this carbon carbon pi bond. So if they are more reactive, obviously their individual energy will be higher, right? So let's say whenever we are performing any chemical reaction, carbon carbon double bond we will be having, and let's say some AB reaction, AB reagent we are adding. So it will convert into A and B. So we are breaking this pi bond, we are adding this A and B to the reaction. And one more thing to consider is the net reaction will be an exothermic reaction. Why? Because whatever the alkene that we have will be higher in energy, because it is more reactive. So almost every reaction will be accompanied by the release of energy, exothermic reaction. So because alkenes are more reactive, almost all of them are exothermic reaction. Obviously, there are some exceptions. I will let you know why there are exceptions when the point comes. Mostly in uh, halide part, hydrogen halide, HX part, you'll have this endothermic part. Can we say that they are more reactive as the pi electrons are delocalized electrons? Yes, correct. That's the main reason, right? They are not fixed. Whatever the pi bond that we have, it is a weaker bond. It is due to the sideways overlap. That's the reason why they are more reactive. If they are more reactive, in the sense they have high energy associated with them, right? So that energy will be reflected in the final product as the release of energy. Whatever that excess energy we have, it will be released. making it an exothermic reaction. All right. Okay. Someone joined just now at 9 o'clock. Okay, it's up to them. Okay. So this is reacting the reactivity. As I was saying, we will be adding a reagent in such a way that please mute ma. Okay, I muted. So we have alkenes. We will be converting this carbon-carbon double bond to carbon-carbon single bond in the process of this chemical reaction. So whatever the reagent we have, we are adding. As you can see, A and B are added onto our reactant. So that A and B can be anything. It can be an electrophile, means short electron deficient, or nucleophile, which will be electron rich compound, or carbon free radical. Please take care of the mic. Someone, maybe by mistake you're owning the mic, please take care. So whatever the addition reaction that we are about to see, it can be the addition of an electrophile or nucleophile or carbon free radical addition. Any one of these compounds, any one of these reagents can be added onto our alkene, giving us a substituted, sorry, and add a different product at the end. Substituted alkane we will get at the end. So here first we will try to see electrophilic additions. Then we will in one of the reaction we will come across carbon free radical addition also. Then we will see at the end the nucleophilic addition. Uh, who is that? Okay, so let's start with the first addition reaction. Addition of hydrogen halides, very important part for boards also. Addition of addition of hydrogen halides. Hydrogen halides in the sense HX. So this HX will be added to our alkene, giving us alkyl halide. So we'll be getting a substituted alkene. Can you name all reactions first? Actually, there are a lot of them. Like around 10 plus are there. I will give you the list later, okay? It will take time for me to write and to what do you say, for you to take down them also in the afternoon. Like I'll write them at one place, I will share that directly in a group. Okay, as of now, just for let us go through one by one. I'll give you the list but not right now, because I haven't listed all of them at one place yet. I have to cross check the important areas, I have to remove some of them, so I'll do that. Okay, addition of hydrogen halides or halo acids. Simply, whatever this carbon-carbon double bond we have, alkene is carbon-carbon double bond, right? So, to these carbon-carbon double bond, we will be adding hydrogen halide in such a way that we will end up with alkyl halide. So, we have X and H. So, we have an alkene, and this alkene on reaction with hydrogen halide, we end up with alkyl halide. It will be simple only, but again, here also we have a name for the major product, and that will happen by a rule called Marconi-Kob's rule. That rule I'll give. Before that, take down the statement. So, hydrogen halides or halo acids. Hydrogen halides, that is HX, add to pi bonds of alkene, add to pi bonds of alkene to give alkyl halides. To give alkyl halides. So simple, direct addition will happen. So the only thing comes, what are the types of groups that are attached to the carbon-carbon double bond. That will decide what is the major product and what is the minor product. So if you take a simple, like very basic alkene, CH2 double bond CH2. So if you take some HCl, hydrogen chloride, obviously one of the carbon will be added to CH2, CH2. So one will get hydrogen, the other one will get the halogen part. So ethene will give us ethyl chloride or chloroethane. So the double bond has been converted into a single bond by the addition of HX. So here, just because the carbon-carbon double bond is not attached to other groups, only hydrogens are there, only one type of product we are having. But when you go for higher alkanes like propene and all, there you have two possibilities, CH double bond CH2. So there are two possibilities where this chlorine part will get attached. So what are the two possibilities that we can have when we are treating this propene, prop one in like propene only to HCl? So can you tell me the product, the possible products that will, that are our, what do you say, that we can observe? What are the products, Nana, after the addition of HCl to this propene?
One, 1 chloropropane.
Yes, and one more. So the first product will be 1 chloropropane, and the other one will be 2 chloropropane, because we have the unsaturation both at primary and secondary carbon. So CH3, CHCl and CH3. So this is 2 chloropropane. So how to decide which is the major product and which is the minor product? Because in the previous case we had an alkene, and that alkene we had a basis to measure the stability. It has to be more substituted alkene. Like that we used to decide the major product. So here, on what basis we can decide the major product? We can decide the major product. So in order to understand how to judge or what will be the major product, we should know the mechanism, because the type of intermediate that we come across in the mechanism will help us to determine the major product. So before we write the major product for this reaction, let us go through the mechanism. So based on that mechanism, you tell me how come or what will be the major product in the hydrohalogenation of propene. So this happens in 3 steps. The steps are very, very, very simple. So step 1 will be the ionization of HCl. What do we have? HCl. This is a polar bond, right? So H plus and Cl minus. Now this H plus will goes and attacks our carbon carbon double bond, but before that the ionization will happen. So can you tell me, acha, here no need to, in propane you'll have that. Okay, anyway. So whatever the pi bond you have, CH2 double bond CH2, it will be shifted onto the another carbon, giving CH2 plus and CH2 minus. So in the next step, whatever the H plus that we have will attack our particular ion that we had in the mixture. So we have CH2 plus CH2 minus you have. So the H plus will attack and it will be added onto this negatively charged carbon. CH2 plus CH3. So this will be the slow step and this will be the rate determining step. So this will be the slow step and rate determining step. So from rate determining step, what is our product? This is our carbocation. Our carbocation will be the reaction intermediate, and this will help us to decide. 2-chloropropane will be major. Yes, 2-chloropropane will be major. So we will be having a carbocation. So in the final step, to this carbocation, the Cl minus will be added. So what do we have? CH2 with a positive charge, CH3, and this Cl minus will go add on to here. So we have CH2Cl and CH3. So this is ethyl chloride. So in the same way, try to write the mechanism for this propene to chloropropane. So for this, it is for ethene to chloroethane. CH3, CH2, Cl. Try to write the mechanism, and from there you tell me the major product. CH3, CH double bond CH3 in presence of HCl. Tell what you have two of them. So what is the major product? One of you gave you the answer, you gave correct. Others also give it a try. I'll give you the hint. Just concentrate on the carbocation part, which will be the major, depending on the stability of the carbocation. All right, so let me write it. You have to be responsive. I don't know all of you are listening or not, but anyway, let's start. So when it comes to the mechanism, so step one will be the ionization of this HCl. So you have H plus and Cl minus. Now in this CH3, CH double bond CH3, to what is the major stable carbocation that we end up? Anyway, there are two possibilities. So either the electron, this pi electron can shift in this direction or in this direction. So which will give us, which shifting will give us major carbocation? So secondary carbocation will be the major. Why? Because in the first process, let's say the electronic cloud is shifted in this way. So you have this H plus is attacking mass. So you have H plus over here and H plus over here. So in the first step, what happens is this pi electron cloud should be shifted. So if it is shifted to this one, then the H, wait, I'll do step by step. So we have CH3, CH double bond CH3. The pi electron cloud can shift in two ways. First way is this CH with a lone pair minus, and then you have CH3 with a positive charge. And the other way is CH3, CH with a positive charge, and CH2 minus. So between these two, which will be favored? Because you have alkyl group attached to the double bond. So we have seen this part of shifting of pi electron cloud in electronic effects. So what is that electronic effect called? Anyone? Shifting of pi electron cloud to the adjacent carbon in carbon-carbon double bond. We had one electronic effect. What is that? Anyone? Are you there?
Ma'am, electromagnetic effect.
Yes, very good. It is electromeric effect, and that electromeric effect is depending on the type of alkyl group. Since this alkyl group is an electron donating group, it will favor in the shifting of electron cloud to this carbon. So this will be our most favored intermediate. Now to this one, the H plus, whatever we had from the previous step, will be added. So this H plus will add. So we have CH3, CH2 and CH3 plus, sorry, it's CH2. So that is one part, and CH3, CH2 and CH plus, and this is CH3. So if the H plus is added onto this negatively charged one, you have primary carbocation. If this H plus is added onto this negatively charged carbon, we have secondary carbocation. Obviously, secondary carbocation will be more stable. So This will be our major product. So CH3, CH plus and CH3, on adding Cl minus, you will have CH3, CHCl and CH3. That is 2-chloropropane as the major product. And the other one, because of the primary carbocation also, we will end up with one more possible product, right? That will be 1-chloropropane, CH3, CH2, CH2Cl. It is 1-chloropropane, and that will be the minor product. One is the minor product. So just because we happen to write the mechanism, we were able to decide what is the stable carbocation, and that stable carbocation gave us the major product. So this deciding factor onto what hydrogen, onto what carbon, especially our H plus coming from the acid, will be added. So that is called as Marconi-Coffs rule. And this is important for 2 marks question when it comes to the boards. Even for 4 marks also, they might ask in boards. So just take it down. Marconi-Coffs rule. Marconi-Coffs rule. They spell it in another way also. Both are same. Marconi Cobb's rule. Both are same, ma. They spell it in different way in different books, but the rule remains same. Even they'll twist the sentence, but I'll try to write it in simpler way, because the way the major point that we are able to write the stable carbocation. So based on that point only, we will say. Can we say this reaction as substitution of chlorine? Secondary greater than primary. So 2-chloropropane. Here we are not substituting, right? Substitution is nothing but replacement. We are not doing the replacement, we are adding the chlorine. So this is an addition reaction. Yes, definitely the stability of secondary is greater than primary. So yes, your second part of the doubt is correct, but not the first part. This is not the substitution of chloride, it is the addition of chloride to the initial compound. And coming to the another doubt, due to inductive effect, the carbocation is already being stabilized. Then how will Cl minus be added onto it? Even if it is stabilized, it still has a positive charge, right? And that positive charge will attract the negatively charged chloride ion. So end of the day, it will give a neutral molecule, that is 1-chloropropane. Even this is stabilized because of the inductive effect, it still has a positive charge. Obviously, non-polar compounds are more stable than polar compounds. So even if you have a stable carbocation, we cannot stabilize it. Only way we can do it is by compromising this positive charge by adding this chloride part. That's why it will have the end product. We cannot have carbocation as the product. It will just be a reaction intermediate. Okay, that is one thing. Yes, so please take down the Marconi-Coffs rule. In addition of HX, in addition of hydrogen halide HX to unsymmetrical alkene, I'll tell you, like unsymmetrical alkene means in propane, you have one side as 2 hydrogen attached to carbon-carbon double bond, the other side 1 hydrogen and 1 CH3. So that is an unsymmetrical alkene. In this process, the H plus of HX goes to that carbon, goes to that double bonded carbon, which already has the greater number of hydrogens to it, which already has a greater number of hydrogens to it. So this is the Marconi-Coffs rule. So in the process of this hydrogen to the carbon with greater number of hydrogens attached to it, we end up the major product. corresponding to the more stable carbocation. So the underlying factor for this is more stable carbocation, more stable carbocation as the intermediate, as the intermediate reaction intermediate. That's the underlying property, because in the above reaction, as you can see, obviously there will be shifting of the pi electron cloud. One second. Obviously here there is shifting of electron cloud, and after the shifting of electron cloud only we will be adding the H plus. One second. Yeah, here. So after the shifting of electron cloud only we are adding this H plus, right? And that H plus we are adding in such a way it will give us a stable carbocation. So here Markovnikov will talk about this step. The addition of H plus coming from the hydrogen halide will go to that carbon which already has a greater number of hydrogen, and that is the possibility number 2. So here the H plus is added to the carbon which is having a greater number of hydrogen, which means it is the least stable. It will give us the better stable carbocation, because if you have more carbons attached to it, it will be a higher carbon, right? It will be a secondary or tertiary, which will be obviously more stable than primary. So simply just write the intermediate, make sure that it is a stable carbocation. That is the only way to find out the major product. So according to the Markovnikov rule, it talks about the second step of the formation of carbocation, where the hydrogen will add in such a way we will end up with a more positive carbocation. That is, the hydrogens are added to the one with more number of hydrogen. So here you have two hydrogens and here you have one hydrogen. So according to the Markovnikov's rule, the major product will be due to the addition of hydrogen to the carbon with greater number of hydrogens, which will give us secondary carbocation as the reaction intermediate. Everything seems what, like a lot of things are happening, but the underlying principle is same: stable carbocation. If you are able to deduce that part, these addition reactions are set. Almost every one of them will happen through carbocation as the intermediate only. I mean, at least the first 2 to 3 reactions. Okay, so I'll give one more thing. Just give it a try and tell me the possible product. So take an example. So CH3, CH, CH3. Sorry, don't take this H. Double bond C, H and CH3. So here we have HBr. Just tell me what is the major product and minor product. So what do we have? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 2-methyl butene. What is the reason behind Markovnikov's rule? That's the thing, right? The formation of a stable carbocation. That's the principle. So if we add here, the logic is here we are adding the hydrogens to the carbon which is having more number of hydrogens. If the carbon is attached to more number of hydrogens, obviously that will be a primary carbon, right? So in a way we are getting a secondary carbocation as the intermediate. Wait, I'll show you. One second, ma. I'll just go back here. The hydrogen is added to the carbon which is having more number of hydrogen. So this is a primary hydrogen and this is a secondary hydrogen. So in the second possibility, we will get a secondary carbocation according to the Markovnikov's rule. Now, if you see the other way, when the hydrogen is added to the least stable, the carbon with less number of hydrogens attached to it, we end up with a primary carbocation, primary carbocation, which will be the least stable. So the underlying principle is to get the more stable carbocation. 2-methyl 2-bromo, yes, very good. 2-methyl 2-bromo butane will be the major product, very good. So the main reason for this Markovnikov rule is to get a more stable carbocation by the addition of this H plus. Because the electromeric effect will give both positively charged carbon and negatively charged carbon. The way it is shifted and the type of carbocation formed at the end. That has to be the stable one. All right. Next. Very good. The answer is 2-bromo butane, 2-methyl butane only. So what do we have? The carbon, the hydrogen has the first step that will happen is addition of H. So this hydrogen addition can happen in two ways. That is CH3, CH3, CH3. Let me write the possible ones. And then you have CH3, CH3, CH and CH3. So this hydrogen can be added to this one or the other one, giving us CH2. But according to the Markovnikov's rule, if the hydrogen is added to the one with more number already having a greater hydrogens, that is the second one. Hello, you can hear me, right? So you'll have 2-bromo and here you have 3-bromo. So this will be our major product. 2-bromo, 2-methyl butane, and the other one 3-bromo, 2-methyl butane. This will be our minor product. Okay, right. And on again, you can do this carbocation way also. So this is a secondary carbon and this is a tertiary carbon. Obviously, if the electron cloud is shifted to this secondary carbon, we can have a tertiary carbocation CH3 plus, and then you have CH2, CH3. Okay, you can hear me, right? Fine. This will be the reaction intermediate, tertiary carbocation, and to this carbocation our bromine will add and give us the major product 2-bromo 2-methyl butane. All right, do one more thing. Oh, charge it. So you have HCl. Just tell me the possible product for this, the major product.
Ma'am, in this case, rearrangement is possible, right?
You mean the above one, the above 2-methyl butene example here?
No, ma'am, the question which you gave just now.
Here no need for rearrangement because anyway you have here tertiary carbon and here you have secondary carbon. So if you just concentrate on the shifting of electron cloud, you'll get the idea of the product. Here no rearrangement is required actually because it will back up the type of carbocation will back up the stability, like it will back up the major product. No need for rearrangement here. Give it a try. Phenyl 1 to phenyl shift is not required actually. Okay. And one more. What's happening? What did you get? 2-chloro 1-phenyl propane. Yes, very good. So the chlorine part will be attached to the tertiary carbon because that is the only possible stable carbocation. Oh, Wait, you guys can hear me right? My microphone got disconnected, but please, you can hear me right? Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
hello, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yes, thank you. Okay, so in this particular product, what do we have in the first? Whatever the chlorine we have, that will be added to the tertiary carbocation. If the hydrogen shift has to happen, the pi bond shift have should happen in this direction. Wait a second. The hydrogen, whatever the pi bond shift is there, it should happen in this direction, so that the hydrogen will be added over here, giving us a tertiary carbocation as our reaction intermediate, and the hydrogen will be added over here in the first step, that is H plus. And when the chlorine gets added, you'll get the final product that looks something like this. Here you have chlorine and here you have CH2. So this will be the major and only product. And yes, is there any specific way in which H and Br are added? Actually, for HBr, that happens via like anti-Marconi's Cobb's rule is there. So there you don't get a major product will not be corresponding to the stable carbocation. There is Karash effect or peroxide effect. That I will tell you, but that falls under anti-Marconi Cobb's rule, the opposite of this. Yes, there is a specific reaction solely for HBr. That part I will give, but let us get hold on this Marconi Cobb's rule before itself. So take one more reaction. So you have methyl cyclohexene, and then you have HBr or HCl. Here this happens via normal Markovnikov rule. So what will be the major product? Here also the same. This is a tertiary carbon and this is a primary carbon. So what will be the stable? So where does this Cl happen? I meant, is there any syn or trans addition rule? Anti. Uh, is there any specific way in which hydrogen and bromine are added? In a way, any syn or trans addition? I don't think so. Because here just whatever the H and Br that we are adding, we are doing in two steps. Initially, H plus gets added and then the bromide part gets added. So even if you want to do it in a specific manner, there is no need to do so, because we are breaking it down to two different steps. I don't think we require the syn or anti addition. No, not required actually. Not required. Is it one bromode? No, no, no. It's not benzene, Nana. It's cyclohexene. You don't get a toluene here. You won't get a toluene. It's not benzene, okay? It's just normal cyclohexene. The above one is benzene. Okay.
Ma'am, so
One bromo, one methyl cyclohexane. Correct. So the tertiary carbon will be the carbocation part. So wherever we get the positive charge, so CH3, the bromine will get added over here and the hydrogen will be added over here. So this will be our major product. So we have one bromo, one methyl cyclohexane as the major product according to the Marconi-Cox rule. And there is another possibility also where you have one bromo, two methyl, but that will be a minor product. Our major product will be due to tertiary carbocation only. It will get added at this carbon itself. So yeah. So this is about Marconi-Cobb's rule. Here, in the first step, the hydrogen will get attached to the carbon, which is having more hydrogens, so that in the end we will have a stable carbocation as our reaction intermediate.
So this stable carbocation, the bromide part or the halide part will get attached and used as the major product. So only logical way to approach this question is mark the carbons where there is carbon-carbon double bond. What is the possible carbocation between them, which is more stable? So to the more stable carbon, just add the halide part, you will have the major product. Okay, so Markovnikov's rule is very simple. So in the next session, so please log in at 3:30 to my personal Zoom ID. Till 5 o'clock, I will take the class. In that afternoon class, we will see anti-Markovnikov's rule, which is important. And from there, we will see, if time permits, we will see the addition of halogens part also. But this itself takes a lot of time. The addition of hydrogen halide is important, and it itself takes the whole 1.5 hours in the afternoon. So make sure you log in on time. Make sure all of you are presenting, are attending, because I can say of these 20 people, only 11 to 12 will attend. The other 8 per people, I don't know, because like it's the same progress since day one. There is no progress, actually it's the same case since day one. Please attend, these are important. If you attend the class and listen carefully, there is no need for you to read the entire chapter again. You can directly go for problem solving, and the revision also will take less time. So please attend, log in on time at 3:30 till 5 o'clock I'll take, and after that you can go back to your own schedule. All right, I'll share the previous part. This preparation, these chemical properties and all together I'll share at one time. Okay, so that will be for now. You guys have a nice day. We'll meet in the afternoon at 3:30. In the evening. Okay, yeah, I'll give break. I won't take 1.5 hours at a stretch. I'll make it 40 minutes and 40 minutes. 40 minutes, half an hour, like that I'll take. Yeah, even morning I thought of giving a break, but I was in the flow, so I had to continue. I'll give a break. Okay, sorry for that. I'll give you a break. Okay. All right, that will be for now. We'll meet in the afternoon at 3:30. Take care, ma. Have a nice day.